Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I do a gel fill at home. I've been doing my own nails since December. It has been a long journey of learning. I think I've gotten the hang of it, even enough to have done a design this past time I did my nails. I'm sure you've seen the Hailey Bieber nails floating around the internet, and I wanted to try them out myself with similar products to what she used. So I'm going to be showing you a little Hailey Bieber Glazed donut nail tutorial to get a similar result and showing you how I do my gel fill with hard gel. Okay, first thing is to assemble everything that you need. This is a very long process because I'm very particular and I want to make them as good as they can be, like salon quality. Usually I start by picking a show or a movie or something that I've probably seen before so that I'm not really focused on it. Another thing that you will need is a mask if you want to be a little bit safe and not breathe in the powder that is emitted into the air. I wear a little medical mask while I'm doing this. I know you have one of these around the house, so grab your mask and let's get started.
The other products you'll need for a gel fill, of course, you'll need hard gel. I use the IBD brand, as well as a brush to apply it with. This one's a little dirty. I needed to clean it. You'll also want a dehydrator or alcohol. I use both, mostly the alcohol though, in a spray bottle form. You'll also need either cotton rounds, or I usually use paper towels because the cotton rounds just get too fluffy and really interfere with the nails. I also use the IBD bonder as a base coat, and then I also have the No Cleanse top coat by IBD as well. Since all these products need to be cured, I have a UV/LED lamp that I use to cure everything, as well as the BT Art Box electric nail file that can get up to 30,000 RPM, as well as all the nail bits that come with it. While the e-file is great and all, you will need a nail file with 180 grit as well. Finally, you'll just need the color you want on top. So I'm using the D&D Gel Color in Freckle. This is a set that also came with a nail polish, which is what I had on hand, as well as the OPI Gel Color in Kyoto Pearl. I'm also going to be using eyeshadow. These are not the exact products that Hailey Bieber used for her nails, but I will let you know what those are later in the video. All of these products are fairly inexpensive. I tried to go for the inexpensive options that were still pretty okay quality, so I will leave the links in the description. But I would love to know if you have any product recommendations on the cheaper side, but still good quality. Leave them down in the comments below, as well as any tips or tricks that you want to share. There's always learning to do, so leave your tips in the comments if you have them. So getting started, these are my nails. They're about 3 weeks of growth, and they're definitely not the best. I ended up forgetting bonder when I did it the last time, so I have quite a bit of lifting. But to start off, I took off all my rings. I like to keep them clean as best I can, just so you can see the lifting. It's just this bit where it's a bit lighter than the rest. It's easier to see when you have a sheer polish like I used. With color, you can't see it, but you can definitely feel it. It catches on your hair and it gets super annoying. So we will definitely have to remove quite a bit of that before getting to the application. But first I grabbed my e-file, and just a safety tip, and to keep your e-file in the best shape, make sure to never have it on when you're changing the bit. Never have the dial turned up before you turn it on. Make sure it's always at 0 before turning it on. And for your nail health, it's always important to never use the coarse bit on your natural nail or on your skin or anything like that. I use the fine bit for that. Anything on your natural nail, obviously being gentle at a lower speed, or any shaping that I do later on. But I need to take off product, so I put the coarse bit on the end and I use it just on my fake nail. So I will do it very carefully, making sure not to touch the natural nail or my skin, and always keep it moving while removing all of the top layer of the fake nail. The other reason to keep it moving at all times is because if you've done this before, you'll know if it's in one spot for too long, there is friction that's created and it can develop some really intense heat that burns and it hurts. So you always want to just keep moving it in different directions to get off all the color. Of course, this was going to be way easier than a regular just colored polish on top, because it was quite clear aside from the design, but you want to make sure that you get every single bit of the color off. Of course, I just used this coarse bit to get the middle part off, and I go in with the fine bit after to get all the edges of the color off, and then do any prepping and removal of any bits that are lifting later on. This was quite a learning process, especially when filing my dominant hand, but I always move my hand around and create a stabilizer with one of my fingers on my opposite hand to really help guide me, especially when I'm filing my dominant hand. So I finished all my fingers with the coarse bit, and now I'm just changing it to the fine bit to get all the details, like I was saying, around the edges of the fake nail so that I didn't accidentally damage my real nail with the coarse bit. I also took a moment to clean up the area, lots of nail dust everywhere, and I put a paper towel down to help with that later on. In case I go close to my natural nail, I don't go above 3000 RPM on the e-file, sometimes less, and I just go around the edges to take off any of the extra color that I missed and file away any lifting that you'll see. Some of the nails are worse than others. This is really important because otherwise you'll have air underneath when you apply more gel, and your nail will be prone to breaking before you'll even need a fill, which is the worst sort of thing to happen after you've worked so hard on your nails, and it's painful too. But I just continue. It takes a while on your dominant hand, like everything in this process will, but just going slow is all you can really do, and stabilizing your hand, getting different angles to make sure that you get all the nooks and crannies on the edges where lifting is happening. And it will take you a few tries. You will need to clean your nails with alcohol in between to really see what parts you've missed. You can see here the lighter bit is where it's lifting, and the slow-mo really shows what is lifting on that nail. And there's a few other spots too. Everything needs to be completely seamless. So I go in again and I do another round of filing around the edges, and you'll see the bits kind of pop up when it's come off, and you'll know when it's completely seamless that you've done all you can do. See, some of my fingers needed multiple rounds of cleaning and filing, and then cleaning and filing until they were perfect and seamless and there was no lifting left. I end up going back to that index finger because it was still lifting, but this is how it looks when they're pretty much all done. Now it's just time to shape them. So I would use an e-file if I was shortening a lot, but sometimes it's easy to mess up the shape. So I use the nail file with 180 grit just to kind of shave them down just a little bit because they grow out quite a bit in between fills, and I don't like them to be too long. So this is what I'm doing here, just making sure the shape is still nice and taking down any of the length that I wanted for my oval nail shape. To make sure that they are all the same length, I just compare fingers on each hand, and I noticed my thumb needed a bit more to take down and make them even, so I just did a bit more filing until they were all nicely shaped. Then I wiped again with alcohol and the paper towel just to get all the dust completely off and push back my cuticles. I have this wooden tool. I really need a better cuticle tool. That will be something I purchase later on. If you have a recommendation, leave it in the comments, please. But this is what I have for now. Then it is time to prep the nails. With the fine nail bit, I use no more than 3000 RPM speed, but usually even less than that, just when it starts turning. And I just very gently tickle near the cuticle and on the rest of the surface of the natural nail that I haven't filed yet until it is matte. If there's any shiny nail left, the gel won't stick to it properly. So that's what I do to prep my natural nail, as well as do any of the underneath bits of my nail that are poking out. Even if your nail starts detaching from the gel, sometimes that happens around my thumb for some reason, I just shave the natural nail down until there's no gap. And if I'm feeling extra particular, I use this skinny, pointy drill bit closer to the cuticle to make sure that I get any of those bits if I missed any with the other bit, because it's quite big compared to this one, so I will do that as well. So these are my nails all prepped and ready to go. Like I said earlier, I had to go back into that index finger and just take a bit more off to get it perfect. But once that was done, it was time to clean off my nails and dehydrate them with the IBD dehydrator. I just swipe that across all of my nails and get them all prepped and ready. Any oils on the nail could make the gel lift in the future, so that's a tip to make sure that they're completely dehydrated and completely clean of any oils. Next, I use the IBD bonder on my nails. Depending on the base coat you use, there'll be different instructions for curing, but usually says on the back of the bottle. So I end up applying a nice thin layer, making sure not to get it on my skin or my cuticle. Anywhere but the nail will cause lifting, so make sure to do that. And because my thumb is on an angle, I usually cure it first and then do the other nails and cure them all at once, because it's a very runny product and I don't want it to get on my skin. But I just continue doing each nail, applying the IBD bonder and making sure that it's cured for 30 seconds. And then it's time to apply the IBD hard gel. If you're unfamiliar with this kind of product, it's very thick and gooey. It really reminds me of the Laneige lip mask. It's the exact same color, which is funny, and kind of a similar consistency. But I grab my brush and just pick up a tiny bit on the one side and then kind of press and drag it where I need the fill. So you'll see how I kind of do it. I put most of it closer to the base and then drag up to kind of create a seamless flow from the base to the tip of my nail. I usually half cure this one, so I do the thumb for 30 seconds. It requires a minute in total, but then I move on to the next finger, and once I've finished the next finger, I'll cure it for 30 seconds again. So that thumb will be done at that point, and then move like that because I don't want to expose my hand to too much UV. I'm actually thinking of even getting a glove or something to wear. I've seen that online, but yeah, so that's just my technique. To fully cure it, it does need a whole minute in this specific lamp, but that's just how I work to make sure that I don't mess up each nail. I can't do my whole hand at once. So I just work one by one, 30 seconds, back to the next one, another 30 seconds until the pinky. I do the pinky for a minute to make sure it's completely cured. And then I go over any spots that need more. Sometimes I do a full other layer on each nail. This index finger, because I took so much product off, needed quite a bit of gel applied to it again. So I went through and did another layer and even a third layer on that finger, but mostly 2 layers on my other finger. It's better to do a thicker application in the end than too thin because you're gonna wanna shape it later anyways. So you're gonna be taking a little bit off. So it's totally okay if it's a bit clumpy and a bit thick, as long as it's mostly even so that it will look natural like a real nail when you're shaping it. I just added a bit more gel to any nails that needed it and cured it until everything was done. This you will need to wipe afterwards because it will be quite tacky, quite sticky. So I use the alcohol and paper towel to just remove that sticky layer and then follow up with my right hand, which will take quite a bit longer than my left, and it will definitely be way more clumpy and need more shaping than the left hand, but I do what I can and practice makes perfect. I had done the thumb and then realized that I totally forgot the bonder, which is what I did last time I did a fill, so I quickly did bonder on the rest of the fingers that I hadn't put gel on yet, and then continued with my gel application on my right hand. Once I was done my whole gel application process, I cleaned the sticky layer again and then cleaned my brush with alcohol as thoroughly as I could to ensure that it doesn't get damaged. From there, it's time to shape the gel. So I just used the fine bit again and went over as much as I could to create a nice seamless nail with no bumpy bits. Everything is mattified in the end and smooth. When I drag my finger over it, you can feel no bumpy spots, and there's no gel on my finger in the end. So I get all the edges and all the angles in to make sure that I get the edges and everything is smooth. From there, I do any last bit of shaping that I need to do with my nail file, especially on the sides, to make sure that they're straight and look like a proper oval shape. And then just finish up any last bit of nail file shaping that I need to do, along with the undersides. If it got a little clumpy when I applied my gel on the underside, I make sure that that's all seamless. Once they're wiped, that is it. That is my gel nail application at home. So now it's time for some color. So I'm going to attempt the Hailey Bieber Glazed Donut Nails now. To be completely accurate, you'll want the Pale to the Chief OPI gel color along with their Tin Man Can Chrome Effects powder, but I don't have those products. I will be using similar products to get the same effect. So I used my IBD top coat as well as the gel color and mixed it together on some tin foil to make it a bit more sheer. I realized that this color was way darker than it was supposed to be. I thought I got a color similar, but clearly I didn't. But I just mixed the two until I got it to kind of a similar, more sheer natural color, and then I just applied one layer to each of my nails. Once all the nails were coated in one coat and cured, I tried using the pearl color first. So I did one layer on my thumb and then cured it. I think this was probably the closest effect, but I wanted to try something different on my index finger. So I started by applying the Kyoto Pearl gel with one thin layer on my index finger, and then I did a flash cure, so only 10 seconds under the lamp. Then used my finger into the white eyeshadow and I just carefully kind of pressed and brushed it on top. I could have easily used an applicator, but this is old makeup that has just been lying around, so I didn't care to use my finger, and then I cured it for the rest of the way. So I wanted to kind of experiment with different things to see what was the best method to get the best result. So on the third finger, I did a thin layer of the Freckle D&D gel polish, flash cured it, and then applied eyeshadow on top. So these are all the nails that are different. The index finger is definitely more opaque, the thumb is whiter, but I really liked just the eyeshadow effect, just with the color and then the eyeshadow. So I did that for the rest of the nails, even though it's not 100% like the Hailey Bieber nails. I really liked them. So then I applied the top coat on top of all of them and moved on to the next hand, which I did a different effect just to show you the difference. But this is my left hand. Sorry, the lighting has gotten worse. The sun set, so I will show you them in better lighting. Anyways, I finished the right hand by doing just the Kyoto Pearl on all of them to really show you the difference between just the eyeshadow version and just the pearl polish version on my right hand. The one thing about this is it came out really clumpy and streaky, and it kind of separated, and I kind of hated the way the OPI polish applied, but this is the difference. The right hand's definitely more white, definitely more similar to the glazed donut look, but I finished it off with top coat and cured, and this was it. This was my right hand with just the Kyoto Pearl top coat, and this is the left with the eyeshadow. The thumb was also the Kyoto Pearl, but it got to a point where later on in the day, I hated how clumpy and weird and streaky my right hand looked, so I actually ended up applying another layer of Kyoto Pearl and top coat, and this was the result. Very chrome and nice, but I definitely think if I used a lighter color underneath and a bit more of a white pearlescent eyeshadow maybe or polish, it would have looked more like the trending glazed donut nails, but the actual products were not available and mostly out of stock. luck. So I did what I could, but I really like how they turned out. Let me know which you prefer, the left hand with the eyeshadow or the right hand with the pearl gel polish on top. And thank you so much for watching. If you did like this video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. I hope you have a wonderful day.